Hello and welcome to another episode in The Power in Your Story, where I interview amazing entrepreneurs who tell their story about their journey as to what led them, the trials, the struggles, the ahas, as to what they're doing now. And what I love about this interview series is that each and everyone has a unique and powerful story. Hello, I'm Marianne, your confident communication expert, helping you speak your truth through story. And today I am absolutely thrilled to welcome Nina Cooke. Nina Cooke is a mindset coach, and she helps 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs, coaches, and experts build authority and boost their profits by up to 800%, which is quite amazing, by creating an unstoppable mindset. And she's worked with hundreds of established entrepreneurs. She's the host of the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast and has interviewed world-class entrepreneurs and best-selling authors. She's been featured in Entrepreneur magazine, BBC Radio, and top podcasts. So I'm thrilled to be able to welcome you to this interview series. Nina, thank you for being here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, Marianne.
So I have to say, before we keep going, I know that I was having a chat with Nina beforehand, and I know of a personal recommendation of Nina, and that's how I met Nina, about the amazing results that she actually does produce. So I've heard somebody personally sing her praises, and I can't think of a better testimony. And to kick off, before we go into the background of your story and your journey, Nina, I'd love you to just expand a little bit. I'm intrigued by the unstoppable mindset, because guys, we'd all like that. There are days when we just like to tap into that. So what do you see as an unstoppable mindset?
An unstoppable mindset is where you believe, and believe is the important word here. You believe you can have what you want. Yeah. Now, we often think, well, I'd really like to have this. I'd like to have better health, more wealth, nicer relationships. I want to feel happier. I want to feel more present in the moment. I want all these nice things. But we don't believe on some level that we can have them, because we're so used to having our old conditioned thinking, which keeps telling us that either we're not worthy of having that, we don't deserve to have that, we're not the type of person who can have that much happiness in our lives, and we just have to settle for less. And that's just how life is going to be. Yes. And so every time we reach out for a goal, yeah, and we think we want it, and then every time we talk ourselves out of having that goal, is simply because we're bumping up against old limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves. So many of them that we've had since childhood. So as I said, this is old conditioned thinking, but it's such habitual, comfortable thinking that it's become our normal. Yes. And for us to ever stretch our comfort zone, yeah, and reach out for something bigger than we have feels very uncomfortable. And because we have all that discomfort, we very easily talk ourselves out of it. And therefore we go back to square one, or we may move up a little bit, but then we just feel that we want the next bit, but that feels like a big reach, a big stretch. And therefore we struggle. We struggle to get what we want, because we make it so hard for ourselves, because we're always talking ourselves out of it. So say you want, a better relationship with your partner, but you feel that that person is never going to change. They're always going to keep saying the same thing to you, pressing your buttons. It's never going to be any different. When you have that belief that it's not going to be any different, if that's what you truly believe, then you're never going to be able to have that better relationship. So what we need to do is to examine those beliefs that are getting in our way and then dissolve them. So when you then have a clean slate, if you like, you can start putting new thinking onto that clean slate, and you can start creating new beliefs about what you believe is possible for you. For example, I do deserve to have an amazing relationship, and I can think and feel it as if I already have it now. So it's all of that, and it's all coming from within. We're not creating from without, because nothing is created from without. Everything is created from within us, from our consciousness, from our eternal source energy, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it God. Whatever that is all from within us. It's looking out through our eyes. It's putting breath into our body. It's that limitless, infinite part of us. And so when we can identify with that part of us and truly feel that part of us, rather intellectualizing it, experiencing that's who we really are, then any goals that we have feel absolutely achievable, because that infinite, limitless part of us already has those goals, already has everything you would ever want. So it's really the identity that we have. Which identity are we buying into? Are we buying into the limited, small self-identity of not deserving to have more, or not being able to have more and having to settle for less? Or are we going to switch our identity to that unlimited part of us that truly can have and does already have everything we want? And therefore we can manifest that into our lives. But we have to get out of our own way first.
Yes, beautifully put, and that helps the unstoppable mindset. That's beautifully put. Now, I know that with your story, I know snippets of it, but you mentioned going back. It's a lot of our beliefs go back to childhood, and looking at listening to some of your videos, you mentioned a little bit of your childhood, a bit about your confidence, and I believe it was staying under the radar. So perhaps you could just share a little bit about how you started your journey.
Yes, as a child, I was very scared of life. I was scared of people. There was a member of my family who really intimidated me and made me feel very scared. And I used to try to stay very quiet and out of everyone's sight, because I didn't want to get into trouble. I didn't want to attract this person's attention. And so I started to really hang out in the background, not say much. I didn't really have a voice in the house. And I just felt that if I got certain people's attention, I would be in trouble. And I didn't have any confidence in myself at all. I felt that I didn't matter, that there was something very wrong with me. And if I was enough, then none of this would have been happening. So there was something that was flawed within me. And it was my mission in life to hide that from people. I became an absolute people pleaser. I desperately wanted people to like me and to approve of me, because if they did, then on some level that meant that I was okay. Yeah. If someone didn't like me, then it was almost as if they could see what was wrong within me. They could see the flaws which I was trying to hide within me. I did everything I could to make people like me. I used to try and figure out, what do they want me to say? How do they want me to behave? And I was never really invested in the moment, in the conversation with them, because I was so worried about whether they liked me or not.
Yes.
This continued through most of my life in one form or another. It cost me dearly. It cost me dearly in not having authentic relationships with people, because I was never my true self. I didn't like who I truly was. I felt they wouldn't like who I truly was. So I had to try and pretend to be something I wasn't, which takes a lot of stress and effort.
Yes.
I also found that at work, I didn't have the confidence to put myself forward. I was very good at what I did. I worked for a corporate. I got excellent results.
Yeah.
But I never told people about what I did. And therefore, people who I felt weren't as good as me would get the promotions because they had the gift of the gab. They were able to have chats with bosses and get on with them, whereas I was always scared of authority figures. It wasn't until I had...
Sorry to interrupt, but so who didn't you tell? You didn't report to your sort of managers, oh, I've achieved these things. You didn't feed them back. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't feed them back. And I remember I had a boss who was very senior boss, several levels higher than me. I'd had a really good set of results. He called me into his office to congratulate me. I was a quivering wreck in the office. I was so nervous of him. I was so scared of him because he was an authority figure. I felt, who am I to speak to him? He's going to realize actually that I don't have anything to offer at all. And this could have been a great opportunity for me to, showcase what I'd done, for us maybe to talk about the next step for me. And all I did was quiver like a jelly in the office. And he must have looked at me and thought, what's wrong with her? And obviously that conversation didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. He was very pleased with my results, but that was it. Nothing happened after that for me.
What do you actually think when, I mean, you've explained very, very clearly and graphically how it felt for you. And in a sense, I'm getting the feeling that somebody's there to praise you and you think, whoops, no, I'm not really there. So you, in a sense, you experienced a bit of a meltdown. What effect do you think that had on this manager, this boss? Do you think he sort of just then felt that there was something? What do you felt got in the way about a promotion or anything else?
I feel because I was so uncomfortable with myself, he was uncomfortable being in the office with me. And when you're uncomfortable with someone, you can't have a nice flowing two-way conversation and talk about plans, etc. He probably wanted to get me out of his office as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And this is how it kept going for me in my life. It was when I had children and they were very young and I used to love watching them play. And they had this lovely confidence about themselves. Yeah. I wanted to be a role model for them. I was sick of faking it and pretending. I really wanted to connect in with who I was, start liking myself. And I wanted to have that confidence that they had so effortlessly. That's when I started doing a lot of personal development work on myself. And it took many years to find something that really started working for me, that changed my perception of myself. The only thing that matters in life is the perception we have of ourselves, because this is the perception we have of ourselves and of the world is what we experience in life. We don't experience anything else. How we see ourselves, how we see other people is everything. Do we have belief? Do we have a feeling of, trust in people, in the world, in ourselves? Do we have faith? All of those things. Or do we have doubt? Are we pessimistic about things? Do we not believe that things can work out for us, that we haven't got what it takes? So we have these two different lenses that we can look at through the world. And often we default to the lens that we don't want. We look at the world and think, I haven't got what it takes. I can't have what I want. I can't earn that much. It's just not possible for me. I can't have that loving relationship. I have a client who desperately wants to have a family. Yeah. And until he believes he can have that, he won't have it. So all of this stuff is what gets in our way. And we have to really identify what it is that is stopping us. What is these feelings of not being enough in some way, not being good enough, not being smart enough, not being good looking enough, not being competent enough? All of these things that these stories that we feed ourselves, these limitations we set on ourselves. And that's when we identify with that limited self wholeheartedly, and we live our lives from that perception. And we can change that perception.
Yes.
For me, it took a long time to change that perception until I found a method that worked for me. I tried lots of different things along the way. I was getting partial results, temporary results. It was only when I identified and dissolved my limiting beliefs that I started to feel differently. And it's the feeling that we want.
Yes.
I started to feel differently, and I started taking actions I would never have thought would have been possible for me. I started creating videos. I started being visible, putting myself out there. And one of the most important things is I stopped worrying about what people thought about me. I stopped worrying that I was in trouble with people all the time. And that lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. It really made life much more fun. And lots of new possibilities started showing up for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. So for you, it was a journey. How long until you found the right formula that actually worked for you? How many years do you think it took, just sort of rule of thumb, you know, rough idea?
Well, I started reading self-help books. I remember the first 2 self-help books I found. I went to a bookshop. It was probably in the late 80s. And I suddenly saw this, I don't know what they would have called it, self-growth section, personal development. I thought, this is interesting. It's the first time I'd ever come across anything like that. And I bought 2 books. I bought Louise Hay, Heal Your Body. And I think it was Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yes.
And I took these 2 books home and I read them and I thought, I didn't know this sort of stuff existed, that people wrote about these things. I felt a real affinity with it. So I suppose you could say it's been over 30 years that I've been on this path, but sometimes I was off it for a long time and then I get back into it. And it was only, I'd say, in the last 10 years or so that I've been on this path wholeheartedly.
Beautiful. And did you find things like Feel the Fear and Louise Hay? I think I've got both books and they're both wonderful, but there's a sort of timing. So you read them maybe 30 years ago and think, wow, this is amazing, and possibly say, well, and maybe your conversation keeps going. Did you find over the years you could pick it up and it had a different, you felt a different relational connection with the book?
Absolutely. When I'm ready to hear things, then I'm ready to hear things. Otherwise, I can read the same thing again and again, and it just doesn't really make any difference to my thinking.
Beautiful.
And with all of these things, I can read something or listen to something and it doesn't drop in. Another time when I'm ready to listen to it, I will go back to it and suddenly it'll make a huge difference to me. I believe all of these things are cumulative. And for some people, it can be instant, but for most of us, it takes time. Yes. Listening, hearing, trying things out. But the biggest thing is commitment. It's all very well reading something, but it's only in implementing it that we start to see a change in ourselves. It's the implementation, it's the biggest hurdle for most people because the ego gets in the way. Well, this won't work. Try it later, do it later on, but just do your other stuff first and then do it later on. Do it before you go to bed tonight. You get into bed, you're tired, you don't do it. And the next day you have the same intention, but you don't follow through. So really, how much do you want to change your life? How much do you want to create the life that you really, really want? It comes down to that because we make lots of time during the day to do all sorts of things which aren't useful in our lives. We have got the time, and it's getting really serious with yourself and thinking, do I really, really want to do this? Because now is the only moment we have to make that commitment to do it. Not putting off, later on in the day. If you want to do it now. Make the time now to do it. And do that personal development work and stay with it, even when you don't think it's working, even when you feel that, the opposite of what you want is showing up in your world. That's where you go back to keeping the faith and trusting. Trust yourself that you have got what it takes, that you can have what you want. This is the most basic belief that we can have about ourselves. We can have what we want.
Beautiful. And you've shown that in your own journey, haven't you? Because I know that you started off as an entrepreneur. What actually, just briefly, what inspired you to stop being in corporate and actually start your own business?
I stopped corporate life when I was pregnant with my first child. I knew I wasn't going to go back to the corporate world. In those days, it was either you went back full time or you didn't go back at all. There was no part-time in those days. I then had 3 more children, so I had 4 little ones. And there was a point when I thought I really want to do something else. And it was probably when my youngest was about 3 years old that I decided to set up a business. And by chance, I discovered a way of having a personal shopping business and how to put the bits together. I'm not a personal shopper, but I got a website. I found amazing personal shoppers, incredible makeup artists, and I started a business. And it worked brilliantly. I had a nationwide business very, very quickly. I was getting some amazing clients, corporate clients, as well as individual people who wanted a great wardrobe. That worked well for me for a number of years. I think I ran that for around 7 years. And then I found that it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. I wasn't working directly with clients as much as I wanted to. And I really wanted to fix myself. I felt that this was what I needed to focus on 100%. So I finished that business and I started this personal development journey. I found something that worked brilliantly for me, that helped me to create a bigger vision of what was possible for me, to implement it. I started getting great results in my business. And then I thought I can help business owners, entrepreneurs who are struggling unnecessarily. They don't need to make it so hard for themselves. I can show them an easier way to hit their goals. And that's when I started working with entrepreneurs.
Beautiful. So now you work with the mindset. So do you feel that you've now found your true niche, your true purpose?
Yes. I feel I'm serving my clients at the highest level I can serve them right now. And it does come from me. For me, it comes from wanting to serve, wanting to help people to have a wonderfully easier life where they like themselves, they enjoy their own company, they enjoy their business, they enjoy their relationships, and they feel that they are absolutely unlimited. Beautiful. That's what makes me feel very, very happy.
Yes, to get those results. That's wonderful. So really your work is not just on the money mindset, but it's the overall in a sense prosperity of the abundance of their lives.
Yes. I work with entrepreneurs to help them to have a fulfilling business, to help them to hit their income goals, work with the type of clients they want to work with. Yeah. But alongside of that, I end up, sometimes working with clients on their relationships, because our lives are segmented and put into cubby holes. This is my business, this is my, my relationships, this is my health. Everything interacts with everything else. And if your relationship isn't going well, it's going to affect your business and vice versa. So I have helped clients with relationships. That wasn't what the intention was at the outset. But because our beliefs get in the way in every aspect of our lives, what I do works in every aspect of my clients' lives.
Absolutely, very well said. I think that's very powerful. And every entrepreneur really wants to have a sort of prosperous life as a whole. I think that's a goal for all of us. So words of wisdom there. And I noticed that in one of your videos, you mentioned how you personally worked with, I suppose, with your mindset of moving from, I think it was something like $60 an hour to $800 an hour. What was the journey for you in order to feel, other than getting the right clients, but to feel comfortable with what you were charging?
It's all internal. It had nothing to do with the prospects I was talking to or anything else. I had to become very comfortable with my own sense of self-worth. Yes. And my own value and what I was able to do for my clients.
Yes.
And when I became very certain and confident about that, then it became easy to raise my prices.
Beautiful.
And I attracted people who were able and willing to pay that much. And therefore, it's just been something that I haven't actually thought about intentionally. Oh, it's time to pop my prices. I just knew when it was time to raise my prices.
So it's sort of an organic evolution, really.
Yes.
And with the mindset changing and feeling it's time, and this is the value I offer, you then attracted the people that were able and valued your time as well. Beautiful.
Yes.
And this is very powerful, and thank you, because this is a question, I know, important things to listen to, guys, that Nina said, because I know that a lot of people can, as entrepreneurs, can struggle with this question and all these things, you know, sort of trying to value yourself. But really what Nina's saying is you have to value yourself first, and that's the most important thing, to truly give service to other people. So that was beautiful. And gosh, you know, I had one more question, and I got so excited about what you said that went straight out of my head. But have you got yes, any words really before we start to wrap up? Any words, any final words? Oh yes, how you react now. I remember you were mentioning as a child being super, let's say, shy, feeling that if you kept out of the spotlight it would be safer, and this kept with you into at least early adulthood. And now that you've evolved into the true Nina, how do you feel that how would you compare, and what would you say, how would you compare the adult now to the younger adult?
Well, if I was to have a conversation with my 16-year-old, I would say, lighten up. Don't take life too seriously.
Beautiful.
Just know that you can create the life you want from within. Learn to like yourself. You are perfect as you are. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And enjoy life. Beautiful. Everything will work out. It will definitely work out for you.
Beautiful.
And trust yourself. Trust yourself to create what you want.
Beautiful. Trust yourself. Yes. You sort of have the power. That's lovely. And now it seems obvious to me, but I'd just like to check in with you. It sounds as if you now that you're a host of a podcast and you go on interviews, you now enjoy the exchanges with other people. I
do. I love chatting to people. I'd rather chat to someone than write emails any day.
Likewise. Oh, that's just so wonderful. That's so wonderful. And I guess you value and appreciate the response that you get from other people, that you can compare, even subconsciously, to what you used to get before. You see a difference, don't you?
I do, because I expect a difference. You see, we can't do anything beyond our expectations of ourselves. So the expectations we set of ourselves, exactly what we're going to get in life. I raised my expectations about myself. I raised them about other people, about the world, about what I could have. And that's what I get back, because the world is just a mirror of my thinking. When I up my thinking, the world ups itself. When my thinking goes downhill, the world goes downhill. So that's what I'm just controlling it within myself. I've got the control mechanism within me to, move it up or down. And that's what I've realized that I can do. And, I have times when I wake up and I think, oh, and then I know that I need to pick myself up. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a good day. Oh, and yes. I have the tools to be able to pick myself up now. But I definitely fall off that horse a lot. Yes. But I know when I've fallen off. I've got the awareness that I've fallen off. I don't stay on the ground for long. I get back up again.
Beautiful.
And that is the difference, I think, between then and now. Then I used to wallow for a long time over setbacks, what people have said to me, taking it personally, which set me back a long way to always be playing in the background. Now I don't focus so much on that stuff. My intention is to spend as much time as I can focusing on what I want, rather than focusing on what I don't want, because as the world is a mirror, we've got to be careful what we're focusing on.
Beautifully put, beautifully put. And it's very powerful what Nina said, guys, because it's so important to remember that as we hear wonderful stories like Nina's. Nina's also being vulnerable and saying, yes, I too have the down days. So everybody has the down days, but now Nina has the tools to recognize and pick herself up. So that's a lovely insight, and thank you for sharing that with us, because that's important. It's important for people to hear when they're maybe on a different part of that journey. So it's amazing. And do you, just to sort of sign off, do you find that really now you're grateful for the path that you've traveled?
I believe that we can learn lessons from our past, and there are a lot of lessons. If for me, the lessons were about forgiveness. I think that's the big lesson for me. So there are lots of great lessons, and everyone's playing their role beautifully, because I'm creating all from within anyway. So people have showed up in my life exactly as the way I created it from within, and they played their role. So if I want them to play a role in a different way, they'll have to create that from within again. And that has been very, very helpful for me. And it's not easy to take that much responsibility, because there's so much easier to blame other people.
Yes.
And it has that is a lesson that I'm trying to learn.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so that's lovely, and that's a lovely gift that you'll be giving to your children. And I just love that insight, which we take back that sort of arc from when your children were small and you were thinking, I want to be different. I want to be different for my children. So in a sense, your journey has been a huge service for your children as well. So that's a beautiful story. And now that you found your sort of life's purpose and fulfillment in many more ways other than just your work, which of course is very important. That's beautiful. If there's is there anything you want to say? You've given us pearls of wisdom. Is there anything else you want to sign off with, or?
No, I think we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. It's been fascinating. Well, if you want to get in touch with Nina, I will put the link in the show notes to her link to the Millionaire Mindset Scorecard, which I recommend. And so I'll put that in the show notes. In the meantime, guys, thank you for watching this. And if you want some further help in crafting your story, then you've got contact details in the show notes of how to get in touch with me as well. And Nina, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an amazing journey. I've been truly engrossed in your journey of all the struggles from childhood, and how you've come through, and the strength that you've shown, and the amazing reminder that it in going through that powerful journey, and trusting yourself, then you are so much more helpful to other people. And it's a wonderful story, and a lot of encouragement for all of us entrepreneurs who will inevitably, just like yourself, have the down days. And it's lovely to remember. Stories help us remember that actually we can keep going, and we can do our own purpose too. Thank you so much, Nina.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Goodbye, guys, and we'll see you in the next interview. Take care.